I know you talked about being underestimated as a striker, but how about, just kind of being underestimated, period? I mean, this was kind of an up and coming fighter, and you might have been overlooked just in general.
Yeah, I think I was overlooked, for sure. I kind of thrive off of being the underdog, because then it's like, I have nothing to lose. But in my mind, I knew that I wasn't the underdog, and I knew my coaches and my team and anyone who's around me knew that I wasn't the underdog. I think that I had one bad performance, which clearly I've come back from. The Paige Van Zandt fight was just, they say sometimes it's just not your night, but for years and years of fighting, I didn't have anything left to give, because I wore my body out so much, and then when I got into the fight, I just crashed, and that's why I took 15 months off, because I worked with a performance doctor, Dr. Cowan, and we did extensive labs, and I got my body back to feeling good again, and I started feeling like the fighter that I always knew I was. And I think that people judged me off that one performance and thought, instead of thinking, hey, maybe there's something wrong with Felice, they thought, oh, maybe she's just old and washed up. And I think that sometimes the veterans in the sport actually get overlooked, because, we're not these young up-and-coming fighters that you can market. So it's like we kind of get left behind and like forgotten about. And I wanted to prove that, hey, I'm here. I'm here to stay. Like, I never went anywhere. I fell down. I got back up again, and I came back stronger.
I mean, wouldn't you say that experience trumps youth a lot of times anyways? I mean, that seems to kind of be able to work in your advantage, especially in the next few years.
I think it does, but I also think that sometimes when you're a fighter and you have the experience, if it takes a toll on your body and your mind, and you don't necessarily know something's wrong, and you don't know how to fix it, then you keep going down this downhill slope. And I knew, like, when I performed against Paige, I was like, I don't know what happened. I couldn't move. My body just couldn't move. And my doctor had reached out to my manager, because he worked with a lot of fighters, and he's like, there's something wrong, with Felice and her levels, and I can fix her, I can help her. And I think that if I hadn't gotten fixed, then I probably just would have kept going on a downward slope and been somebody's stepping stone. I think that that's what happens with the people with the experience. They use as somebody to build these young up-and-comers. And that's how I felt. I felt like I was a 3-1 underdog, so I was definitely overlooked. I didn't mind it. I kind of don't really pay too much attention to that stuff anymore. Of course, I knew about it, and I was like, well, that's fine. I'm going to show everyone I'm not the underdog. I'm here to stay. I didn't go anywhere. I had I had one bad fight, and I hit rock bottom, and it was good for me, because it made me realize that I needed to make some adjustments.
We talked about, her potentially overlooking your striking. Do you feel like there was any point that you hit her with anything in the fight where she realized, oh man, I may have bitten off more than I can chew here?
I can't speak on Grasso's behalf, because I wasn't inside her head, but I definitely could see it on her face that when I hit her, she knew she was in a fight, and I expected that. I anticipated it. I know I can hit hard, and I know I can strike, and I think that now that I don't have all this anxiety, I went in there more calm and more patient and more relaxed, and I wasn't just going in there seeing red and putting myself in bad situations. Like I said, I try not to pay too much attention to the media or what she's saying, what she's thinking. I don't listen to any of, my opponent's interviews, because I know sometimes whatever she thought, that's fine. I expected that she, believed her own hype, and rightfully so. She's a great fighter. I was, she kept me on my toes. I knew that it was going to be a tough fight. But I knew I could handle it, and I don't necessarily, my record doesn't necessarily prove like what I'm about. It's not a fantastic record, but I fought some of the top girls, in my division and 1 and 2 weight divisions above me. So if you do your research, you got to know that probably going to be in for a fight. But I think, again, she probably thought she was fighting the fighter that fought Paige Van Zandt. And then I fought Kylan Curran, and I didn't get to show much because it was over and under 2 minutes.
Yeah. What felt better, tonight or the current fight? I mean, the current fight you got to do at home, and it was that great feeling, and this was dominant, but in a different way.
They were both satisfying in their own way. The Kylan Curran fight was great. It was in my hometown. It was the turning point fight for me. It showed me that, hey, I still am that fighter that I always knew I was and always knew I could be. I just had to adjust a few things, and it was great because I wasn't, I didn't have all these scratches on my face, but I look pretty cool at the airport. So, but I think just this fight is definitely more satisfying because Grasso was, an up-and-comer, and I was a 3-1 underdog, and I know she was supposed to beat me, and she was supposed to be this rising star, and I got to be the one to stop the undefeated girl, so it feels really nice.
You had two pretty, serious call-outs there at the end. Do you feel like if, regardless of which one of those two you got, if you got it, and won, are you right there in the title picture, or do you not even think about that kind of thing right now?
No, I just think about one fight at a time. I don't like to jump ahead too much. I just want to be in the present and think about what's in front of me right now. Even now, I don't know who I'm going to fight. I would hope that the UFC would do the right thing and give me either Paige or Michelle Waterson because, I wasn't vocal about it, but I was offered the Waterson fight in Sacramento, and I accepted it. And then 2 weeks later, I had it taken away from me and given to Paige. And that was a fight people I don't think know, but I was on a reality show with Michelle Waterson. It was a Muay Thai show, Master Toddy's Fight Girls, a long time ago, like 10 years ago. And I had been trying to fight her in a Muay Thai fight ever since then, and then in MMA. So she's a fight that I've always wanted. And when I call these people out, it's not in a disrespectful way. I feel really confident in myself again, and I feel that, I would like to climb the ranks and show people what I can do and, fight these fights that I want.
You mentioned that the reason you were taking time off was to sort of recover mentally. You made a statement about your cortisone levels and things like that being low. Do you attribute that to the frequency of your fighting, and do you feel that or fighting too much can contribute to things like that?
Fighting too much definitely can contribute, but I also think that for a lot of years I've been in my own head, and I'm also very hard on myself. So every fight was never good enough for me. Every fights that I won, and then every camp, I always felt I had to top myself. And I'm a very OCD, obsessive person. I always thought, okay, I got to diet harder, I got to train harder, I got to train more. And when you're fighting so often, and you always have to top yourself, and sometimes it's too much. Too much of anything is not good. And I think I just found the balance, and I think my performance suffered a lot over the years because a lot of fighters, the weight cut is mentally stressful, and again, thinking less is more or more is more. I would eat less and less and less, and I didn't fuel up right after weigh-ins or anything, and I just would go in there and just kind of hope for the best, hope that my training would pay off, and I forgot the question.
Last one. I know you don't expect to take that large amount of time off. For you, what's a good amount of fights to have per year?
I want to say, put me back in there. I want to fight a lot. I want to fight often, but that's what got me to the point to being burnt out. I have over 50 fights now. I have a pretty extensive career between MMA and kickboxing, been doing it for 14 years. Ideally, I would be happy fighting twice a year. I know that's probably not what the UFC wants. I'm not saying that, no UFC, I'm only going to fight in 6 months. Don't call me to fight in 3. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But, that's a good pace for me. I can manage that. I can handle it. And, I've also dedicated my life to this sport. And I feel that, I can, sometimes I just want to live my life now. And I know it sounds like, oh, what are you, not disciplined? You don't love fighting? No, I love fighting. Like I said, I've dedicated my youth to this sport. Started when I was 18, and now sometimes I just want to enjoy my life a little bit. So twice a year is good.